Hi, welcome to Franklin's Garage to Stage podcast. My name is Rob Wardrums Franklin, and my co-host is
Dana Thunderbase Franklin.
How you doing, man?
I'm damn good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Unfortunately, we have a brother that's in critical care right now, so our thoughts and prayers go out to him. His name is Johnny Franklin, so please share your prayers for him. Basically, I start these episodes with a quote that are both music related or just quotes for life in general. And today's quote is by Deepak Chopra, and it is, "If you focus on success, you'll have stress. But if you pursue excellence, success will be guaranteed."
Nice. Like it.
Cool. Well, Dana, who do we have with us today?
All right. Well, with us today, we have Mr. Andrew Verkamp, who's an author of a book called Kyana Woodstock, One More Day of Peace and Music. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, doing all right. Thanks for the opportunity to spend some time with you, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Thank you
for joining us. So before we really get into this, from what I'm read, it sounds like that this whole thing started from a barbecue, like a mega barbecue that just turned into an annual festival with bands. And so how did that come to creation?
All right. So we'll ramble on here a little bit, gentlemen. So I'm a child of the 60s, actually born in 1960, so kind of caught the wave, maybe the back end of the wave. Book's called Kyana Woodstock because the town I live in, a little bitty town, is Kyana, Indiana. Play on Kyana, Kentucky and Indiana. Downtown has 7 people, and I live way out in the suburbs.
Wow, that is small.
Yeah, small town. So growing up in the 60s, my brother was in Vietnam, summer of 69. I'm a 8-year-old, soon to be 9. He sends home a reel-to-reel, if you remember the old technology.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And he had recorded some music, and I listened to it as an 8-year-old. It probably didn't really click. I listened to it a lot, though. And years later, it hit me, though. The one album on there was the Beatles' Rubber Soul, and I'm a Beatles fan. That's probably why I'm a Beatles fan. Anyways, that started rock and roll. Years later, I started figuring out this thing called Woodstock. So Kyana Woodstock, my backyard in Kyana, Woodstock. The 25th anniversary was back in 1994. Ancient history at this point. The technology then was VHS tape. And for the first time, they released the Woodstock movie on VHS. So I bought it and ran a 25-foot extension card or 100-foot card in the backyard to a TV, and we watched it, a dozen of us. And every year it got a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. Ended up with live bands, fireworks, a giant screen. I rode the wave of technology. So 25 years or 24 in my backyard until my wife said, "No more, we're kicking you out." We literally packed 500-600 people into my house, just open house, backyard. I said, "Here's the deal. If we're going to do that, we moved down to, we live in Southern Indiana. Abraham Lincoln grew up in Southern Indiana, born in Kentucky, and then spent his life in Illinois before becoming president. So he spent about a dozen years just a few miles from where we live. And they got a big amphitheater down there where they run a summer series to celebrate his life, or did for years. And then it kind of went, drifted off, and then a new group came in. Anyways, we are now sponsors of the stage. It's a 2,200 people amphitheater, beautiful venue. And they do live music during the summer in addition to the Lincoln story. And they do Kyana Woodstock. We do it every 5 years, but we sponsor the stage for the whole summer. So 32 years of history of rock and roll. We'd watch the Woodstock video, and then we started inviting in the local live music. I thrive on the adrenaline, straight to the vein of live music.
Right.
Good, bad, anybody who tries it. But so that's the story of the book, or at least part of the book. and this party that became a book.
Cool. Very cool. I liked one of the lines in the book where it says, "This is more than a memoir; it's a heartbeat of a generation." Could you kind of explain that?
So I during that 25-year history, technology moved on, and somewhere in the middle of it, started doing little email blasts to grow that 500-600 people away from just immediate family. And people started saying, "Man, you ought to write a book," because they would love the little. Most of that propaganda was around the theme of Woodstock: peace, love, togetherness. The numbers all the way from 300 to 500,000 people, with another 500,000 trying to get there, and nobody got hurt. It was the epitome of peace and love. So I started writing the book, and on and off, on and off. So it's the first part of the book is 69, and you're going to catch a bunch of 69 theme here, 1969. 69 short stories about a little bit of memoir here of my life growing up, all tied to rock and roll. That section of the book is called "Here I Threw Up," play on the words of "Here I Grew Up," which Abraham Lincoln, it's one of his famous quotes on Southern Indiana, "Here I grew up." And then the second half of the book chronicles what you ask about, the basically a beer blast party in the backyard growing into an event where we sponsor local music. So the theme of it's in and out of a memoir, but the overriding theme is peace and love. And the gray hair of one of the people who rode the wave with that. I think we were living through the very end, and I rock and roll will never die. But we lived through a period of time that, and not trying to offend anybody or whatever, but I think 2,000 years from now, they're going to look back just like we look back 2,000 years, and we're about to celebrate it as we do every year. I think we just lived through a period of time where peace and love, and unfortunately, I guess the foundation isn't holding. We got all kinds of, political and everything else going on, but right. Peace and love for sure back in that weekend in August 15, 16, 17, 18, 1969, and on and off throughout. So in the book and what I'm just preaching throughout, it keeps tying in this. Okay, we I don't know. We lived in Bethlehem. We lived in Jerusalem. This was rock and roll, and we had the disciples. We had John, Paul, George, Ringo. We had Mick and Keith, and I can go on to. We had the Who. We had the. In fact, I'm sitting in my basement here. Where they're all hanging on the wall. I live in.
Yes, I see those. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, ironically, as I was growing up, I would meet people, and they were Elvis nuts, or I don't know, some baseball or football. They were obsessive, and I go, it's never going to happen to me. Oops.
Yeah.
But would you ask? So the book, it's got I call it a work of fiction, because other than a few local people, it could be fiction. But interwoven in that is this to me, just a giant awakening of we were there at the epicenter of something that hopefully holds on and finds its way back to the front, and maybe yet becomes the mantra that saves the world, if you will. Because for a few short times, I've been to Woodstock, the site, multiple times. I didn't make it the first time. I was 8 years old, and Mom was worried about the traffic. I think that Dad said, "Go, just don't come back. Just go." Yeah. Anyways, song lyrics. Something's happening here, but something was happening there that hopefully continues to happen. So that's where the various. I tie it to song lyrics. I got a whole education on copyright protection. So the song lyrics in the book are actually word scrambles. the title usually, if you grew up in the generation, it's gonna play in your head.
Yeah.
Right.
If not, you can look it up on the internet. But I took the words and scrambled them all. So all credit, and I don't want to steal the copyright, but the spirit's in there. So that's where the spirit of the theme of the book is that whole overriding journey. A bunch of us lived through, and hopefully there's people who read it who can read about it. Just, and again, bad analogy, but just like you read the Bible to learn what happened back then, maybe you can read the book here to learn a little bit about what happened in my generation.
Yeah.
There you go.
I like that.
I like that. Yeah, yeah.
Actually,
I mean, you
it
hit a
stutters
good
on
point.
generation, but generation.
Yeah, yeah.
You hit a good point about that, the whole peace and love, obviously, of the 60s and 70s. But, you try to get 400,000 people together now, and there's no way it's going to interact like it did back then. At least I wouldn't think. I think that was once in a lifetime thing that happened. And, I would love to see it happen again, but it's doubtful with the way society's going now. But the one thing that you threw the number 69 in there a lot with the whole, the year of 69. And I read that when you printed this book, you did 69 first edition copies for selected individuals. What's that all about, and how did that come to be as far as, those certain individuals?
So part of this journey, pushing 10 years now ago, when I said, okay, I'm going to write a book, and it was in the background. It was at best a hobby. I traveled professionally, consultant, so I'd end up in hotel rooms or sitting on an airplane or layovers, and I'd write a little bit, kept writing the book. And then this past year, when we finally took it over the edge, I guess a little bit of the tariffs and world we live in, my consulting gigs dried up. So I said, okay, let's go into this semi-retirement. I go in and out, and I finished the book. There's a whole world out there. I mean, we're not published by some giant publishing house, but you can relatively almost stumble through what's the word? Just follow the bouncing ball on Amazon, and you can write a book.
Yeah.
We took it in the step in the middle and got some professional help, learned a lot. But I had a couple plateaus. One plateau was, okay, I'm going to finish a book, just a bucket list. The ultimate plateau is it's a million seller. I'm making a little money that helps fund more Kyana Woodstock. We donate a lot to the local music scene.
Oh, that's great.
And help spread that word we just talked about. The middle plateau, when you ask specifically about the 69 copies, and yeah, I get fixated. The first set of books, it wasn't actually a book. It was just a manuscript of 400 some pages. I sent to 19 people and said, here, read this and tell me how bad it is. And they helped. But the 69, and again, I probably played with the numbers a little bit. That's my inner core. Other sisters, in-laws. In fact, my theme throughout this whole Woodstock was kind of peace and love on the local stage, my stage. It was family, friends, those we meet along the way, and those who understand. There's 69 books out there that, okay, if I don't make it to that ultimate plateau, at least there's 69 people who I guess they're the apostles. They have the book, they have the story, and it's there for them. So that was the magic of 69, and that part's done. We officially published on September 30th. The goal was the Woodstock weekend, but I learned a lot. I missed the goal. So,
okay. How long was that process from your initial thought of writing a book to getting to the point of being published?
I'll repeat it. It literally was hit and miss momentum on and off. 9 years. It first started, I just took all those emails and put them together. And then I started writing, and then I started hitting that kind of global theme of, wow, we just were living on the tail end of a generation that at least touched peace and love, probably more than any generation, maybe even including the one where 2,000 years ago where it had a little foothold. And again, it's not there. So two years ago is when I published those 19 copies to some people. And then, as I said, this year, I probably spent all of most half the year, 6 months plus, deep in learning how you publish, how you edit, how you clean it up, and make it a book.
Okay.
So, with all the music that you've encountered along the way, and who would be the one band that influenced you the most as far as, when you first heard them? I know you mentioned Led Zeppelin, The Who, and stuff like that. Is there one particular band that is dear to your heart?
So I'll give you, if I heard the question right, I'll give you one sidebar here. I have two adult sons now. The oldest is named John-Paul. Okay. And nothing to do. There was a couple of popes in a row that were John Paul. I think the second date with my wife, I said, okay, if this is going anywhere and if we have children, I get the naming rights of the first one, and it's John Paul.
Wow, that's planning ahead.
And I said, you can have the naming rights of the second one. And a sidebar there, last minute cesarean, nothing serious, but my wife's unconscious. The nurse hands me this little guy, and she said, what do you want to name your son? So I had a John Paul, so I said, George Ringo. They started writing it on the birth certificate. I said, whoa, let's wait till my wife wakes up. So my second son is Max Andrew, but for a little bit it was John Paul George Ringo. The Beatles, I don't have to preach on the Beatles music. That's Bullseye. Hanging on the wall is four giant, the same pictures from the White Album. If you got the little 8.5 by 11, if you're a Beatles fan, they're over there. They're 2 foot by 4 foot giant. I had engineering prints, cut and paste, made big ones. The Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, The Who. And on the other wall over here, I go back to, by the way, I've been to all their graves, the ones that are gone.
Really?
Been to Strawberry
cool.
Fields dozens of times. I stood at the gate, was the last gate that George Harrison went through. He passed in Paul McCartney's house out in the Los Angeles area. Been out in the mud 3-4 times now, in the middle of a cornfield where Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper went down.
Really? Wow.
I got some gravel from Jimi Hendrix's grave. I got a couple seeds from a pine tree or whatever it is from a bench where you can look up into the window where Kurt Cobain left us. I've been to the grave. We had to hunt it down. Actually, I've been to the house where Jim Morrison did not die. That's what hangs on the window. But I've been to his grave. I took 2 Heinekens along. You had to hunt for it. It's in Paris. One for him, I was going to pour in a grave, and one for me. But you couldn't quite get to the grave. They had it blocked off at the time. So I drank Jim's beer.
You drank it in spirit, though, I'm sure.
So when you said genre, it's and that's another journey. As I grew up in our era, I didn't know how many Beatles. You couldn't find out anything. You had to stumble, especially in the middle of nowhere where we live. You had to stumble into discovering the next album, the next whatever. Where in this day and age, I can halfway think a thought, and boom, it's popping up on my phone. So
Yeah.
so the Bullseye was the '60s. And it's a little bit of, so 69 was about 15 years. 1954 is kind of where rock and roll says, yeah, it started here. Bill Haley, Elvis started, Chuck Berry came there, and yeah, it's got some roots. So 15 years after that was 1969, and that was the peak. That was the journey. And the peak continued for maybe another 15 years. And now you're into Kurt Cobain in the 90s and all that. and then it's not gone, but it's drifted. So the Bullseye is there is no other music. And when I travel and talk to my clients and I get to know them, and they're all younger now, or a lot of them are, I try to find that common ground on music, and usually it's about around Metallica. That hits even a young kid now, and I can understand Metallica. I can do that.
Yeah, right.
But I some of them I lose. The Beatles. The one gentleman, his name was Carl Wilson. His name literally was Carl Wilson, and I said, you're a Beach Boy, and he didn't know who the hell the Beach Boys were.
Really? Oh, wow.
So when I left the gig with him, he had a full collection of the Beach Boys, and I said, "Here, you're going to learn what the Beach Boys are." I've been on the podcast journey here a little bit, trying to just like you guys, I'm sure, inch our way into let's become rich and famous with this stuff. But I saw your garage to stage, and I'm damn good at air guitar, but I'm not a musician.
Actually, that was my next question, because I saw a picture of you, a little long-haired kid with a guitar, and I was going to ask you if you're still a musician.
No, now, on the other hand, I'm looking out my back window patio, or goes out onto the backyard. We live on a hillside down in the trees of southern Indiana.
Sounds beautiful.
For 12 years, I would just play the Woodstock movie and people would come. And then Indiana did a funky thing where we changed our the time zone. And we used to never change the time. We just moved from Eastern to Western. I live right on the, or central to Eastern, whatever. I live right on the dotted line where the time zone changes. But they changed it the 1 year, so it got dark later, and I needed darkness to run my big screen on the backyard. A giant screen, by the way, drive-in movie scale of a screen.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, we can do live music. So there was one local little band called Timepiece, Timepeace.
Okay.
Vietnam veteran, Asian. I love him, rock and roll. And he plays. So they played. And over the years, I've sponsored them in different shows. So that was year 13. Over the next 3 or 4 years, I still did the big video. In fact, some years I'd play the video in the back where the bands play. But we went to live bands, local live bands. And again, we're not New York City or Memphis or anywhere, but there's still a music vibe. So actually one in relation, it's a nephew. He's got 21 years, because 4 years ago he released his first single. So 25 years he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but he keeps growing. He played a little local band called 86th, which has got a bad connotation because of politics, but 86, they called it that because the lead singer got fired from one band. He said, fine, well, form my own band called 86.
Nice.
I'll say there's got to be a backstory there.
And they would play here. So literally the last 7, 8 years, I had 5 live bands interspersed as they would switch with some theme of live on a video. Another band was called The High Road. They're incredible vocals, but they're all local. Some old aging hippie wannabes, and then some young, definitely garage to stage. One gentleman who played over the years was an RIP wherever he's at, was a Vietnam vet. Paul Michael Ash was his name. Just incredible, kind of a folk Americana thing. So when he passed, by the way, all these bands I would coerce Ben. I didn't pay them. This was free. This was backyard. But I said, we'll pass the hat. Whatever we raise, my wife and I will personally double whatever we raise. And it's called the Paul Michael Ash Foundation. It's a local. It spends the money on the local schools and stuff to encourage music.
Great.
Oh,
We
awesome.
sponsor the stage at the AMP. 2,200 people, 6, 7, or I guess 10 shows every summer. We sponsor part of a local folk fest at one of the towns. Uh, whatever we can do to help keep that seed of music going. So
Yeah,
That's great.
that's great. Yeah, like you mentioned, it's like, our podcast is, mostly, geared towards the musicians who are starting out, like the name says, garage the stage. And, and that's what we've been pushing a lot. And it's nice to basically get the other side of the coin where, we're hearing from, people like you that have appreciated all that music and, and are involved with keeping that music going. So my question is, with the Lincoln Amphitheater that you guys have a part of, do you have any say in any of the musicians that get on stage here? I mean, I've seen, Kenny Wayne Shepherd. You've had some great bands that have played there. Do you have any input on that?
what is the saying? Pay to play? I'm sure we would or could, but I don't. Once every 5 years when we do, or I guess we've done it twice now, but uh, when we do the Kyana Woodstock show, in fact, me and the director butt heads because I keep I want local, I want live. But other than that, I try to stay out of out of his way. He does a great job of multi-country rock all across the board. Uh, Here a sidebar story. So the back to copyright. He told me when we first moved it down there. He said, "I want to warn you, Andy. You can't do on a public stage what you do in your backyard." And I said, "Don't worry, we're not going to get naked and slide in the mud or anything."
Right.
So they have what is it, ASCI, BMI? They have the rights to play the music. So we were covered there. But when you start going into the video side of it, I wanted to play snippets of the Woodstock movie. Uh, I wanted I wanted Jimi Hendrix, and by the way, this we did the same screen there. It was a 20-foot tall, 30-foot wide stage.
That's huge.
And my brain always does to me. Richie Havens. I wanted a 20-foot tall Richie Havens, freedom, freedom, right on the ground where Abraham Lincoln grew up.
Oh,
But you can't do that. So I started. It's Warner Brothers. I got to Warner Brothers. I would write. I would call. I finally got to a vice president of STILS Stills, where you can. But she said, if you want to do that, you got to contact everybody in the video and get their permission and pay them. There isn't a ASCI licensing for video. So she finally, I wouldn't give up. She finally said, I wish you could find something more constructive to do with your time. And she said, just forget it. So I found it was in Australia. It was I collect the DVDs, and this was an obscure, the other side of Woodstock or something. So I got that for like $1,000 or something. The guy in Australia was going to let me do whatever I want. So I said, maybe I better check with Warner Brothers. And they said, no.
yeah.
So then I contacted the Jimi Hendrix Association, whatever the right word is. And I finally got to a lady there who said, yeah, we'd love you to use our music. We're excited about what you do. So I sent that or she said, well, you got to get Warner Brothers permission. Okay, I got that. So I got the two of them together and gave up. So what we finally did is there's a company out there called Swank, SWANK. If you want to run a movie for Halloween in front of the local park or whatever, summer movies and all that, you pay them and then they handle the rights. So I bought the rights to play the Woodstock movie during this event. And I guess I cheated a little bit. In the old days, I had somebody up in the sound stage, forward, backward. But I cut and paste, and everybody I paid for it. Everybody on the stage got to watch the Woodstock movie. They didn't watch all 4 hours, but we had a giant Richie Havens. We had we had the whole crowd singing to not Joni Mitchell. We Shall Overcome. Help me here, Joan Baez. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
That was a pretty involved process there.
Yeah.
Well, we have a portion of all our episodes that's called
Oh shit.
and it's basically usually we have musicians on. Usually it's during the process for you, I guess, of putting the book together or even putting the event together. Did you have one of those moments where something went terribly wrong or something terribly embarrassing?
There's got to be some story out there.
You can buy the book, and there's a bunch of them in there.
Yeah.
Actually, if I go to the 24 years we had it here in our house, it started with a dozen and then ended up literally the peak year you couldn't move 600 some people, but nobody got hurt. It was Woodstock. It was peace and love. Nobody stole anything. Our house didn't get trashed. I had to clean up, but we didn't have we had one gentleman kind of oh shit one night. He was too much on the enjoying himself side. I did that too, but he was over the edge. And he was grabbing everybody and whatever.
Probably a drummer.
They walked him out. That was a little oh shit. Oh, whatever the word is. Yeah. If I go when we took the leap and started sponsoring it down on the real world, if you will, I guess fortunately there wasn't many. We made it through that. You got me on a zinger there. If I can, a whole bunch of little oh shits. I guess maybe not quite on the oh shit, but the one reason my wife, my yin to my yang or whatever, she gave me enough rope over the years to literally just pack the house with but it started oh shit was you'd be out in the little local town and they go, wow, that was a great party, Andy or Cheryl. And I didn't know who the hell they were. I mean, there was people.
Nice.
So that was a little bit of oh shit.
Very cool.
Yeah, I gotta say, your wife's definitely a keeper. If she put up with all that what you started, I mean that that's amazing. Not too many women would back that. So that's pretty amazing.
We actually, I'm trying to think. We had the local police show up one night. That was oh shit, but it was they just wanted to unblock the road because we live out in the middle of nowhere, but you still got to pack 500 cars with 500 people or whatever that was. So unblock the road. There was one night that probably it's Mother Nature, so a little predictable, but oh shit. So it was the band I said earlier, the High Road had just hit the stage. I don't know, that might have been 400 people. We weren't at the peak yet, 400 or 500. And one of our friends who had left say, Andy, the storm's heading your way. I'm in the little town next to it, and it's just pouring down. So I walked out to the middle of this. I said, one song and get in. And they said, no, we're playing. Oh. And then it came down in sheets, just the proverbial biblical flood. So the hundreds of people that are here that are under the cover of my patio and house, they all go out and grab drum kits and guitars and amplifiers and they all pull it in as the rain's coming down. Everybody's just going nuts. We ended up going to 3 a.m. in the garage.
Wow.
My one friend who was my firework launcher, and of course I'm deaf, and I had a few to drink, and he grabs me by the head and yells in my face. He goes, Andy, I can launch in the rain. So I reset everything, and literally out in the pouring down rain, he's launching fireworks. Mother Nature's blasting lightning and thunder. And that was probably oh shit.
Oh yeah, it sounds like fun. I wish I was there. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was the Titanic, the movie. If you remember, there's a scene in there where they're on the lower levels and they're trying to get to the upper levels, and they're grabbing on the metal framework around the doors, and they can't get in. That was the front door of my house. The wind pressure had collapsed it and bent it, and people were on the outside trying to get in, and they couldn't. And I just stood there laughing my proverbial ass off because rock and roll. And I think that might have
Oh,
been when my
hopefully, they had
wife
some
said
people there
no
with
more.
the 8 millimeter cameras, like videotaping it.
So
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 I don't
so
want to give
switch.
away the whole. I don't want to give away the whole book, and I encourage people to definitely get your book. But can you explain a little bit about the romper room? I found that chapter extremely entertaining.
Actually, my family, my son read the book and he said, "Dad, I didn't know. Maybe I should have known." Uh,
He
but
saw the new
we
side of
were
you. Huh?
teenagers in the '60s, and I guess teenagers in the '70s, and we went and stripped every little building we could find in the local community of Barnwood. Some they donated, some we just kind of borrowed, and we built this cabin. And we'd hang around in the cabin, and as we were building it, and this is teenage hormones kicking in, and I said, "Why don't we put a room in the ridge up above the?" It was a small cabin, 16 by 24, and we could line it with foam and old mattresses, and we could do what we want up there.
Uh, I know where that's going.
So it became the romper room, and if you're a child of, I think now I'm back in the '60s. It was a PBS when school was out in the summer. You got your little workbook, and every, I don't know, Tuesday at 10 in the morning or whatever it was, you had to turn on PBS, and it was a educational program called the Romper Room. So we were teenagers and doing our equivalent of the Romper Room. You're a little sidebar. So the books about music, the books about peace and love, and the good feeling and all of the vibe of that. And then the book in the middle's about. So I told you I travel a lot. When I connect with people over the last 10, 12 years as a consultant, I've worked in 89 different businesses. You parachute in, you got to learn people fast. And I tend to learn them from the ground up versus just hanging around with the people in the corporate office. And I usually music's where I zero in on. But what I really like to find, my passion is rock and roll, obvious.
It's good.
But I try
Good.
to find people's passion, be it fishing, hunting, baseball, knitting. I don't know, but everybody's got a passion. So I used to preach that, and it's the. By the way, sex, drugs, and rock and roll is the correct order. I used to have rock and roll, sex, and different orders, but it's sex, drug, and rock and roll. Uh, I used to I preach it and I tell it to my wife and other people. Everybody's got a sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Everybody does. No, no, no. I said, no, the Pope, take him as an extreme. He has a sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And in his case, it's probably not sex. Maybe it is. That's another story. But sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Everybody's got one. Mine just happens to be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's my passion.
There you go.
Love it. So give us a good story about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. There's got to be one night that, well, maybe you don't remember it, but there's got to be one night that stands out amongst the rest. That those three items in particular, just it all came to fruition, and you just had the best night of your life. Do you remember it?
By the way, I'm I guess a one-hit wonder when it comes to sex, but sex is still front and center. Drugs, I've been across the board, but I'm a alcoholic part time.
Part-time. I like that.
I go on a purge every year, and I stop on January 1, and I don't drink again until I add one day every year. I'm now up to Memorial Day, so and then I catch up. I catch up pretty quick after that. In fact, there's a statistics in the book: how many sex, how many drugs, and how many rock and roll. I'm a businessman, so I do the math. I got it statistically. So I'll take. I told you gentlemen earlier, and I'm still struggling a little bit. I'm deaf. I literally am legally deaf. I got some electronic devices. I can read lips. Without the electronic devices, I live in a vacuum. I cannot hear. When I go to rock and roll concerts, and it's a good excuse, I get to sit as far up as we can, the golden circle seats, because I don't hear it. I feel it. and it's ironic. I'm pretty well sure I don't hear it at all anymore. My wife will sit next to me, and she kind of clues me in. She goes, "That's that's Led Zeppelin playing or whatever." The minute my brain hears or somebody tells me what I'm listening to, the instant I hear that, instead of just I start hearing the song. So I'm pretty well convinced there's a little guy in my brain with a little turntable. And the minute somebody tells him I'm not hearing live, I'm feeling it. That's why we sit close. I can feel it.
Right. Cool.
So when you talked, if I go back to specifically, here I got the date, November 5th, 1978. They've torn it down since, but it was called and they took it out of my brain since. There was a theater down in Evansville, Indiana, and not my wife then, but she is now. We went to a concert. It was Aerosmith.
Cool.
And Aerosmith was new music. So we're at the concert. The Sweet Emotion, I think, is what did it. Their final encore was Train Kept a Rolling All Night Long. That was
right.
Nice.
But the security guard is shaking me and my now wife and said, "Kids, you can't sleep here all night." So I kind of wake up. You can read between the lines. Right in front of the speaker bank. And I remember going home the next day, and I got this ringing in the ear, and I didn't dare tell mom and dad because they did. You ain't going to no concert. But I think November 5th, 1978. Pretty sure it was Sweet Emotion, and then I think 5 or 6 songs later they ended with Train Kept a Rolling All Night. It took out my hearing. So that was. There was drugs, there was rock and roll, and there was probably sex before and after. So
nice.
So that makes for a good night.
That's a good day.
Fortunately, not the hearing, but the rest of the night was pretty good.
The irony of not being able to hear, and in the business world, I go in and the first thing I tell people, okay, I'm deaf. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say, I'm going to ask you to repeat. So Superman, my kryptonite is I can't hear. And on the other hand, it's my super strength.
There you go.
It forces you to listen. It's painful. In the world of business, people don't, I guess in the world in general, people don't listen.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, do you have plans for a second book?
So I'm going to be off on the statistics, but there's somewhere between 20 and I don't know if it matters, 20 million to 30 million books out there you can buy. Amazon has them all, and Amazon sells half the books in the world in this day and age. They did a great job. About 4 million new books a year, average about 250 sales.
Wow.
And we're climbing the ladder. But the trick is you gotta, and I still don't know. I don't know if in fact, I got it in I don't know if my book is the proverbial piece of shit or if it's the next Harry Potter. I don't know. I think it's worth. There's some moments in there where you laugh, you cry, you get that whole vibe. So another book. The good news is I've stumbled my way through understanding this. I still haven't. I guess if you figure out how to sell 1 million copies, yeah. If we do another book, it's probably I guess same overriding theme: peace, love. And in this case, instead of a memoir kind of journey through a party in a backyard, it became a local anthem. We love to travel. We're dirt tree backpack camp. We've hiked the Grand Canyon.
Very cool.
Followed my dad's World War II journey down through the Philippines, went to Hiroshima, went to Nagasaki. My dad would have been in the landing crew if we didn't drop the bombs, and I'm peace and love. But been to Europe, got robbed in Europe, backpacked through Europe for 6. Ironically, in the world of peace and love, we were at a gas station, and when we pulled out back on their interstate, whatever they call them, it was in Spain. We had a flat tire. This guy comes up, "Hey, we'll help you," and then they disappeared. And I thought I had everything, but they grabbed my wife's purse. They had stabbed our tire. When the police came, so they just did 3 cars. They'll slit your tire. The pressure holds until you start driving, and then it goes flat.
What a scam, man.
How rude.
So the other one, peace and love. I literally, I told you, I live in a suburbs of a town of 7 people. One afternoon, we're taking a nap. Now you're back to sex and drugs and rock and roll. But I wake up and my wife, I can't hear. My wife says there's somebody in the house. I said no. So I go out and there was somebody in the house. We're in the middle of nowhere. And it's what is it, fentanyl or whatever the people, he came in to steal whatever drugs we might have in the house, prescription. Ironically, he came back later to apologize and the police took him away. My friend lives in Houston, and he said, no, statistically, your little town of Kyana has a higher crime rate than Houston.
Well, yeah. Who goes to a town of 7 people to rob? I mean, that's like, damn.
So back to, if we write another theme, it's, and again, I'm not a Gulliver world traveler, but we've seen a lot of the world. We've touched a lot of people, and yeah, we got robbed, but that was, the majority of the people. It's just incredible, the diversity. And at the end of the day, everybody likes drugs, sex, and rock and roll, whatever that might be. Their family, the community they live in, whatever. So if there's a second book, it's in fact, it's not a, what do they call it, trip of a lifetime? This is a lifetime of trips, but it's around the theme of people, peace, love, all the different places in the world. A little restaurant on a back street in Hiroshima, and we sort of got lost, or Hiroshima, I can't pronounce it right. In this little middle of the pouring rain, the guy helps us find where we're at. We eat in this little restaurant, language barrier and all. It was incredible. Yeah. And we shared a cold beer. So no sex, definitely some drugs, and rock and roll probably in the background.
Sounds like a great theme for the next book. Sounds great.
Well, we want to thank you for having us on the show.
Yes, thank you.
We're definitely going to include any links for people to be able to buy your book, and we're going to spread the word on it. Any last words to our audience to push your book?
First of all, gentlemen, give me a real short. Tell me your backstory. How did you go from garage to stage? You're Franklin's. I listened to some of your podcasts. Cool stuff.
Well, basically, we were sitting around. I was actually talking to my brother here about what his wife was listening to, and she was listening to a podcast, and I had never listened to a podcast. So I said, "What's a podcast?" And so he explained it to me. I said, we should start one about our journey, because we've been musicians, like I said, for 40 years, around that number, and we should start a podcast to help other musicians about that journey, from like just getting together, forming a band, into what it takes, the trials and tribulations to actually get on the stage. So that's basically the theme of why we and what we do in our podcast. And we try to meet with everything from musicians, but producers, record labels, and just basically get information from all those people to help other musicians. So that's kind of our theme. And with you, your book is all about music, which is why, primarily it's got that music theme and feeling. So that's why we included you in our podcast to, give something for our listeners to read, and in this case, listen to you about the book.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course, thank you.
We've done a couple podcasts. So one was they were zeroed in on Bethel, New York, Woodstock, Keep the Dream Alive. The one I passed on, I guess, read the book, and I watched his or listened to his podcast, and his opening podcast was, come on, you can be honest, man. We've all been in jail before. So he took my, I guess, my drugs part of the book and my little journey with alcohol, and I took it to an extreme. So, we're Christmas season. The one Christmas become one of the movies people watch, and I call Love Actually. If you've ever seen that, it's got rock and roll in it. It's got a nice soundtrack. And the one writing theme in that is the guy takes it's the Trogs, right? Love is all around you and the feeling grows. I can't sing. So they rewrite it to Christmas is all around you. Anyways, long story. There's a quote in there. He says that he's on a podcast or radio broadcast, and any closing words, and he's not real happy with them butchering his original. So my last word is I'm going to quote him: "Take this festering turd of a book and read it because it's a good book." No, uh, I think there's parts in it. Anyways, it's a journey. I hope to keep bouncing away at this. I'll take a few bucks so we can travel the world and write that next book. But what I really want to do is get that vibe out there and keep going. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on our show. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm going to close this with the quote, and this kind of fits the whole theme here. And it's this one's by one of the masters of music of all time, Beethoven. Music can change the world because music can change people. Because I mean,
that's cool.
Music is just universal.
Where are you gentlemen physically at? Where's home?
We are in North Carolina, currently right here in Winston-Salem. And my brother here, he lives in King, but we're basically in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Our studio here is in Winston-Salem.
I love going out hiking in the woods down in that area. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. All right, Andrew, thank you very much for your time. And I hope people will go to Amazon or wherever they purchase their books to get a copy of your Kyana Woodstock.
Yeah. Amazon's got it, and it's also on KyanaWoodstock.com. KyanaWoodstock.com. Our little bookstore. So Amazon don't get their money.
All right, Andrew, and our listeners, thank you very much.
Hey,
Bye.
Take care, gentlemen. Peace and love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Hey, thank you very much.
Can I do anything to follow up with